tell you if you studied it, if you're serious about it, and all praise to the Most High. So I've seen that, and it remind me of a lot, you know, of his grandfather and his uncles, and I see that zeal when he teach. So hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Right now, at this moment, I want to call up somebody who's been an important part of my development in life. When I first started teaching, I was going through different stages, and there was aspects of it. There was a person that I bumped into that was very creative in the way he brought certain aspects of the scriptures and was open to different understandings. And that gave me the freedom to really branch out and work with the individual, because I've seen that, hey, this person is outside the box thinkers and he's into a spiritual realm that may be definitely a direction I was headed. And that person was Nasi Kez, who's with us today. And we pray that the Most High put a special blessing upon him and a special blessing upon his family, who definitely represent Israel to the fullest. And I thank him as an individual, and we spoke yesterday. And it's been years since we really had a long, deep discussion, and we bumped outside of Kroger's and we talked about some real things and spoke man to man with each other. And I thank God, because that was the moment that the Creator Elohim blessed upon us for us to be at that same moment, to receive the same words and exchange the same words at that time. Most I knew what we needed, and He gave it to us as individuals, and I thank Him for the time I definitely spent working with Nasi Kez, and you're going to see the same thing that when I was a younger man, that I was really open and excited about hearing, especially on the Temple Kifarim Power Talk lessons. So we ask that He bless us with some of the information and give us some of this prolific words and explanations that the Almighty has gave him on His word and expound on it. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
We move, Barsha.
Shabbat shalom, family.
Shabbat shalom.
Giving all honor and praise unto the Most High King of all creation. Asking that He will guide my mind, my spirit, my body, my language, my speech, as I approach unto you, His people. Shabbat shalom, Lakim.
Shabbat shalom.
Today, I'd like to do a little bit of travel. What I'd like to begin traveling into is the psyche of our minds, our behavior. And a little bit similar to how Nicey said how we try to incorporate a lot of our culture with that of the heathens, those who are not of the Israelite persuasion. Oftentimes we try to get into relationships with them, pull them close into our lives. We try to befriend them and become best buddies with them. We try to do many things to incorporate the mindset of the heathens, the actions of the heathens, into our culture, into our lifestyle. Some of us fall in love with them, and they refuse to let them go. When the time comes, it's time for them to go. We want to try to make them come along with us, so we make sacrifices and we allow certain things into our lives that, quite naturally, it ain't going to fit. But along the way, we don't know. We think we have the ability to make those adaptations, but we don't, oftentimes. Is someone, you want to read for me?
Okay.
I'd appreciate it. We're going to come out of the book of Genesis, 34th chapter. But before I go to Genesis and start reading, you probably read that and say, well, Prince, what you talking about? How is that tying? I have to give a little bit about, I have to prepare your mindset. Because if I jump right into it, you're going to be, at least I believe, you're going to be a little bit off cue, and it's not going to quite fit like what I need for it to fit. This lesson was prepared this morning. And I did what I could to try to make it so that it could reach the minds of the old and the young together. It's the purpose. When you teach, you're supposed to be effective in the creation of a person's mind, the development of wherever they are, you're supposed to be able to reach them. So I pray that my lesson is successful by being able to touch the minds of all those in the listening audience of various ages.
We're in the book of Genesis, chapter 34, verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. I met a guy the other day, last week, doctor. And I went in for a visit to close out some therapy from a car accident. So, it takes like maybe about 15 minutes. I left out of that doctor's office maybe 45 minutes after the meeting began. The reason why I left out of his office so late and been in his office for so long, somebody must have prepped him for me to come. I felt like a student in this man's office, and I appreciated it. Black guy who was supposed to have been examining my physical body, make sure I can bend and move, and my mind is right, my head ain't hurting. But this man, he did that examination for a good 5-10 minutes, and he was done. So the rest of that time he spent speaking to me about black people, about our culture. The man said something that was very important that I want to try to share with the family today through the portion of lesson that I'm able to bring forward. He says he has a problem with black people always trying to unite. So, I sat back, I'm thinking that's what we're supposed to do, We all black people, we're supposed to unite. Not necessarily true. Because there's a lot of us who are not in the mindset, like what your Abba said. They don't have the mindset to move in a righteous place, or a righteous manner, or a righteous direction, but oftentimes we don't even notice it. Or we give them the benefit of the doubt because they might look good, he might look strong, or he might sound good, but in truth, in his heart, his spirit that guides him is not of the spirit that guides you. And oftentimes you try to take that spirit and you try to force your ways or your wills or your understanding upon that other individual, and it just ain't going to work. So you're living in a life of bitterness, anguish. You don't want to let go, but you can't go anywhere. You can't go any further because the individual that you tied to yourself, that you can't seem to let go, they're not trying to travel where you're trying to travel to. These are the things, the types of things that we often do. So the young people at your age, learn from these lessons. Don't make the mistakes that we have made. Don't try to incorporate things, and just because they're black, she got to be right, or he got to be right, because he's an Israelite. And I'm talking about Israel also. Because they're an Israelite, we got to come together, we got to work together. As Nasi said, if they ain't coming out the book, I'm going to take it a little bit further. Like you coming out the book, why are we trying to bring that together? Do you know what happens when you do that? Spiritually, you could never reach your peak developing spiritually when you try to incorporate the ways of another people into the ways of the Almighty. Now, if you got somebody that's in another part of the book and they're developing, then by all means, you sit down with them and you work. But then you get some that's so stern and so strong that you can show them the contradictions, the fallacies, no matter what you present to them. 5 years later, they're still in the same place. Let them go. This doctor spoke about poison being spread in the midst of us. So a lot of those individuals that we try to hold on to that shouldn't be held on to. Sometimes we don't have the spirit to recognize the danger or the damage. We don't have the spirit to let them go. We don't have the strength. How many times you held on to a bad relationship knowing it wasn't no good for you? Knowing all it was doing was bringing you down and holding you back from drawing closer to the Almighty and becoming the best that you could possibly become. How many times? And how long in your life, how many years out of your life did you spend trying to cause that to happen? And young men, y'all can think about how many friends you had. That was very difficult for you. Might have been when you were in school. It might have been very difficult for you to let that friend go because that's your homie. You thought he had your back. And there might have been a lot of other people around that you were afraid that if I don't have this, my man with me, or my men's with me, that them other men's over there might come and jump me, outnumber me. I'm saying all these things because all these things are going to be covered today in that lesson of a young lady named DINAH. I guarantee you never heard it like this before.
Okay.
It's going to affect your life, and you're going to see it every day in your life when we start traveling through those scriptures. The simple story of a woman being raped. Who would have ever thought that there was a message in there other than just that this female was being raped and taken advantage of? It's a whole lot in the story. And a lot of it applies to our everyday life. Spiritual development is what this is about. If you're in the same place, in the same condition that you've been for the last 5 and 10 years, something is wrong.
Teach.
Something wrong. And if you went backwards, something definitely wrong. It's about elevation. It's about progression. I'm not just talking about financially. I'm talking about emotionally, spiritually, mentally. We are the kings and the queens of this planet. We ought to live like it. We have to represent that with our demeanor, with our appearance, with our minds. We have to know that we're better than what they expect us to be. And a lot of us, we accept the norm. Oh, it's supposed to be like this. It's like that because we incorporate ourselves, as Nasi said, with the pagans, and we allow them to do things to us so that we don't grow and excel where we're supposed to be. These lessons we want to try to give y'all today is to help y'all to develop way further than where we've been. I want to make this declaration first before I begin to speak, because I don't need none of y'all thinking anything that ain't supposed to be thought. I'm under a curse. The Creator brought down his calamity upon me for me failing to do and stay on the path where I was supposed to be. So he's punishing me. I'm thankful for his punishment, because in his punishment and in accepting his punishment, it has caused me to see a side of me that I've never seen before. A haughty side that needed to be brought down to the ground. An arrogance that needed to be brought under control. A man that was just wild that needed to be submitted to someone other than himself. A lot of times we don't see these things about ourselves because we got to go. We got the gusto and we moving. Parents, you're the king of the crop. You're the king and queen of the family. Sometimes you don't see these things in your own behavior. How you treat your children, how you treat your Nashim, or Nashim, how you treat your husband, or how you treat your Yeladim. Sometimes you don't see these things because in your mind, you're complacent. You're in that one spot, and you're the one who's used to being in authority. I've been like that most of my life, and it ruined me. It took the Creator to remove almost everything from me except a portion of his blessings, for me to realize the mistakes and the errors that I was walking in and the abominations that I was committing. So now when I come across my family and I see my family hurting and struggling, I feel the pain. And I blame myself because we're not supposed to be here today. Not like this. So I know that when this curse is removed from me completely, we're going places, we're going to do some things, and we're going to make some great things happen. And the world is going to know of the Creator of all creation in truth. Because right now, this is just an illusion. So let's travel in the scriptures, and I hope I prepared your mind so that you'll be ready, so that when you hear certain things, you'll be able to say, well, that's what Prince is talking about. Rita, what's your name, please? Azari? Azaria. Okay, help of Yah, right?
Okay.
Strength of Yah? Cool. Tell everybody. Let's travel. You ready?
Okay.
We're going to open the books to Genesis, the 34th chapter, verse 1. Let me give you a little bit of breakdown on this. The life that we're going to read about is the life of a sister named DINAH. I believe DINAH had like 5 brothers, the most prominent brothers of the children of Israel, Jacob. Judah, Simeon, Levi, Reuben, and I forget who the last one is. I think it's Benjamin. No, it ain't Benjamin. I forget who the last one is. But she had one more brother that was biologically born from her mother Leah. But I'm pointing out this fact because the brothers that she was born from all were the prominent figures in Israel. Like, you don't hear too much about Dan, Zebulun, Issachar. You don't hear too much about them. They cool, they on the scene, but you don't, they're not the brothers that the lineage of the king of the priesthood come from. Levi was the other one. That's right. Levi came out of that lineage of that union of Jacob and Dinah. Jacob and Leah. Dinah was their biological, both mother and father to those brothers that I just mentioned. And every one of those brothers is prominent brothers throughout the scriptures. We have to remember that. So what does that say about her bloodline? Not that the other brothers don't matter, because they do. They are Israel. So they matter. But she came out of that kingship bloodline was connected to her. That Levitical priesthood bloodline was connected to her. She might have been a priestess. I don't know. A prophetess. I don't know. Scripture don't say, so I'm not going to add to it. But I'm saying she had that connection, that spiritual connection, because she had both of those parents, and all of her biological, spiritual brothers was connected to the Almighty in a special way. So who's to say what took place with her? I don't know. She met a man. And this man she met, his name was Shechem. What's that? Something like shoulder? Side, shoulder? Something like that? Shechem. All of this is going to mean something later. Dinah means judge. It's a female version of judge or judgment. She's going to go one day to a feast or a party or something. She's going to ask for permission. She's going to be granted permission, but her heart is what I want to focus on. Her desires and what she wanted to do is what I want to bring to your attention. Like Nasi was trying to bring to our attention today, that a lot of times we try to mix things. We had our own culture on this side as Hebrews. We had our own culture. We was right outside of Shechem. We had our own thing going on, but we wanted to do what? What did Dinah want to do? She wanted to go out and party with the heathens. She wanted to go and mingle with them, how they do things, and how they do what they do, and why they do what they do. But you got to understand, family, that that's not always the best thing for us to do. So let's try to get started in our reading so we can walk together and see what some of these dangers and some of these benefits are as we read about the story of Dinah. Please.
We're in the book of Genesis, chapter 34, verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And Dinah, the daughter of Leah, was she born to Jacob.
Now stop for a second. And judgment, the daughter of Leah. Judgment. When you hear Dinah, think about judgment. There's a reason why her name is being presented to us as Dinah. And there's a reason why Dinah means judgment. Read on, please.
Went out to see the daughters of the land.
What did she go do?
She went out to see the daughters of the land.
She didn't just go see how those other daughters of the land was. She actually went out to participate in their actions. She went out to be a part of what they was doing. She went out to assimilate herself in their customs. You're Hebrew. There's a separation between you and them. Read on, please.
And when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country.
Shechem. Read on.
And when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her and lay with her and defiled her.
Now stop for a minute. When you hear the story and you think about Shechem, you're thinking about an individual. I'm trying to get your mind to expand. Think about a nation of people. Because Shechem represents a nation. That nation of people that's outside of the culture that you live, that you've been raised in, that you've been born in, are trying to grab you and cause you to come into what they're doing. But notice he did it by force. He didn't even try to trick her. He forced them. He forced his way upon her. He grabbed her. He took her. He had his dominion over them. But what they do today is they come through the back door with music, television shows, billboards, and they hit our subconscious mind. How many times you heard a song on the radio that you didn't like? They played it over and over and over, and all of a sudden, you find yourself singing this song. Now all of a sudden, this is my John, yeah. but you really didn't like it originally. It's because we're all under a curse, a spiritual curse. This spiritual curse, they know how to tap into, cause us to give them the best of us so that we will stand still and be complacent where we are and be satisfied in our present condition. And I'm saying to you, don't be satisfied. Always strive to be great, to do better, to be stronger, because you can get it. In righteousness, you can have it, you can obtain it. So now we got Shechem, who's a nation of people, who's trying to force themselves upon you, who in the symbol of DINAH, you know, sometimes the Creator calls Israel in the feminine form. DINAH. That nation is trying to force their way on us. Let's read the story.
And his soul clave unto Dinah, the daughter of Jacob.
He took her, he had her, and he loved her. He abused her and then couldn't let her go. Read on, please.
And he loved the damsel, and came kindly unto the damsel.
Now after he done took her, he's trying to convince her that this is where you need to be. He's trying to convince her that. He's talking all, you know how we do, talking all smooth words in her ear. Yeah, come on, shorty, you know, I can do this for you, baby. I can do this, and I can make you feel like that. Come on, I got $10. Let's go to the movies and get some candy or something while we're on our way. Y'all know how it go. You know how it go. Read on, let's see, please.
And Shechem spake to his father Hamor, saying, Get me this damsel to wife.
Now they're trying to make it right. Now they're trying to make it right. He didn't already committed the violation. He took, what did I say she was? Probably a priestess or a prophetess. What did I say she came from? A special lineage. The loins of special people. This type of thing shouldn't be done in Israel. This is an evil thing. It should never happen this way. There's a process that we're supposed to go. You go to the father and you say to the father of the individual, hey, listen, I'm interested in your daughter, but all this takes place before you violate her physically. Before you take her and have your way in the basement, in the car, in somebody's yard. Before you violate her, there's a way that you go about this. You go speak to her Abba. And you say, oh, hey, I know I ain't got much, but I got a good spirit. I serve the creator of all creation. And this is how I want to do this. So can I, please, how much would you, can I have her? She's a virgin. How much can I give you for a dowry? You do that prior to the violation. A lot of men, including myself, we're guilty of committing the offense like Shechem, and then going back. Sometimes we go back, sometimes we just don't. We just try to force the situation. Sometimes we might go back and say, hey, listen, me and your daughter, can I marry her? Sometimes we go back, but oftentimes we don't, because we have no honor about ourselves. There's no reason for us to go back. Shechem had a little bit of honor. Where Shechem says, now I have my way, and when I finish, I want you to start from the beginning and move down, please. Shechem had his way with her. So now Shechem says to his father, well, Abba, can you go and talk to her father and see if I could take her to be my wife? I want her now. Something I want to point out to you. Notice that Shechem, who already defiled her, which means he already laid down with her, now he's asking, can I have her for a wife? But wait a minute. Ain't she already your wife? If you had sex with her, does that make her your wife? Oh, that's an age-old argument in the house of Israel. Well, let me give you a new modern English way of explaining it. That wouldn't apply to him because he doesn't live by his law. He's a heathen. So in his mind, he's still got to go in a different process to take this woman to be his wife. Any honorable man, I'm not talking about an Israelite that just lived like anything. Any Israelite man that lives and represents the Creator and walks in honor and the integrity of his heart, he would not lie down with a woman and have her and not already understand or accept that responsibility in his life. Shechem is saying, well, listen, he's a heathen, he's a pagan. That might be their customs. You can just go rape a woman and that's it. Shechem is saying, listen, Abba, can you go and talk to this girl's father so that I can have her for my wife? And watch what takes place. Bring us up to date, please.
And Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah his daughter. Now his sons were with his cattle in the field.
It's very important that you and I walk together. We got to be on the same page. Start from the beginning and go down to that portion.
And Dinah, the daughter of Leah, when she born to Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, and he took her and lay with her and defiled her. And his soul came unto Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the damsel, and spake kindly to her. And Shechem spake to his father Hamor, saying, Get this damsel to wife. And Jacob heard that he defiled Dinah his daughter. Now his sons were in the cattle in the field, and Jacob held his peace until they would come.
Now stop for a second, please. The reason why I had them start back from the beginning is so that all those things will come to your mind again that you just heard, if you really listen. If you really listen. Many of those things that have been shown to you will now come into your mind. The more you rehearse a thing in your mind, the more you'll remember a thing. Always remember that. The more you go over a thing, the more you rehearse a thing, is the more you will remember that particular thing. These lessons can be a powerful thing, or they can be, he was all right. It's all about you and how you perceive it. You could be bored, you'd be like, oh, Prince, I ain't hearing it, I ain't feeling it. Or you can say, well, damn, Prince, that was nice, man, I understand that. It's about how you want to perceive it, how you open up your essence to receive the message. So let's read on. This man was sitting here, Hamor, Jacob was sitting there. Hamor comes to Jacob and says, hey, listen, my son took your wife, your daughter, he defiled her, and I want to make him, he wants her to be his wife. So now watch what it says. It says, read that verse again. It says the sons was out in the field. They wasn't even chill. They was working. They was doing what they do in their portion of the land. And when they heard it, they're going to stop. The whole motion is going to take place, and Dinah's name is going to have meaning now. You understand? It's going to start making sense. I want to make this known to you. Back in the book of Genesis, the Creator told Abraham that this land Shechem will belong to your seed forever. So it's already ours. We just hadn't claimed it yet. That portion of prophecy had not been revealed until right here. That land Shechem, he stood in Shechem when he did this thing. It's going to all be revealed at this particular time. What happens? What's her name?
DINAH.
And what that mean?
Judgment.
So let's see what happens. Read on, please.
Then Shechem's father, Hamor, came out to Jacob to speak to him. Meanwhile, Jacob's son, having heard the news, came in from the field.
They heard that their daughter, their sister was raped, taken advantage of, molested. They came down from the field. Now, can you imagine how, put yourself there. Can you imagine how amped up they was to go down there and pull out their Uzis, their nines, or their machetes and go tear something up? But I want to show you something. Because this is something that a lot of us don't do. They were thinking. Remember, I heard Nasi speak earlier about something about being outnumbered. We think they're more than us. These brothers knew this. Think. They're thinking, and we don't stop and think sometimes. We move up on our actions, our emotions. We allow them to guide us. But we shouldn't. We should allow righteousness to guide us. Sit back and skillfully think and dissect the matter before we just move on a situation because I feel a certain kind of way. Forget how you feel. Don't mean nothing. Sit back and carefully weigh your options. That's what those young brothers did. Watch how the story goes. Now they running down there. They hype right now because they heard their daughter was raped. They running there. What you think they would have did when they got there? The average dude today, we would have started a fight. I had a short side step for a moment. I was parking downtown in Center City. And this lady was in her car with her son. Big, strong, about Nasi size, young boy. He might have been about 19. I was across the street and I told her sister, I said, you can't park there because they're going to give you a ticket. So she pulls up a little bit. By this time, I get to park my car and the young boy was gone. His mother, his imam was standing next to the car like he was waiting for something. I was going up to mind my business and go where I had to go. So I said, sis, you all right? She says, what? I said, whoa, sis, I'm just trying to help. Where you coming from with that? Ain't no negativity. We talked for a few minutes. She was all, hey, she was lovey-dovey then. After we broke the ice and she knew I wasn't trying to do nothing to her, she felt my spirit, her whole attitude changed. Her son, who didn't see nothing, like Nasi said, your parents teach you and then they wonder why you bad, because they bad. Your parents are teaching you they're bad and it goes down on you because of their behavior. The young boy comes out of where he was at, he sees me talking to his mom, he runs up to me like this, like he ready to fight. When he stopped, I backed up, I said, yo, you need to calm down, boy. I said, it ain't even about all that. I mean, ain't no punk in my blood, I need y'all to know that. And I'm very skilled at what I need to do when I need to do it. But, and if I don't, I got some friends with me, they keep me calm. So you got to keep, you got to think before you respond. But I did, I backed up and I said to the young man, boy, you need to calm down a little bit, man. What? His mom said, boy, stop. So he chilled. His attitude of aggression could have got him to lose his life. I mean, you look at him, a little frame dude, and you would never know that I had the ability to do that. With just one blow, he would never know. He has no idea. You can't judge a book by its cover. The point I'm trying to make is, his aggression could have caused him to lose his life, and it would have been all over. So young men, what I'm saying to you, and young women, what I'm saying to you is think before you respond. His mom was cool, but his anger, his aggression came from her behavior. When I first came up to her, she was the same way. What? What you want? What you trying to do? And I was like, oh, sis, it ain't that kind of party. I'm not coming like that. I'm trying to help you. Oh, yeah, all right, well, and she broke down and her whole attitude changed. He didn't see none of that. So the behavior he displayed was the behavior he learned by being taught by his mom. And it was a dangerous behavior. So now our forefathers was out in the field. With all that anger they just heard, they coming down here to do something now. They rush into the scene. Oh, we can tear something up. But you know what they did? The difference between them and us is they think. Watch how skillfully they think. Read that, please. Tell us where you at.
Verse 7. Then the men were distressed and very angry because they had committed an outrage in Israel by lying with Jacob's daughter, a thing not to be done.
What, a thing what?
Not to be done.
Why was it not to be done? It was a thing to lie with the daughter of Israel, something that shouldn't have been done. What shouldn't have been done, sisters? Sisters?
She should have went out.
Huh?
She should have said something. What she should have went out.
Not only that. You're absolutely correct. But the message I want to jump on about the thing that shouldn't be done, brothers, is that you shouldn't be laying with a woman unless you're ready to take on that responsibility. Period. Period. And in doing so, there's a reason and a way and a procedure to go about to do it. You don't defile a woman in Israel and just send her on about her way. You don't go in there and you take the Jews and then just say, well, I'll see you later. Or we're going to be boyfriend and girlfriend. Nah, brother, you better be ready to take on that responsibility. The moment you defile her, things change automatically. But this thing shouldn't be done in Israel. There's a way for us to take a woman in Israel. There is no boyfriend and girlfriend thing. You know what they call that? When you laying down with a girl and you ain't married, she ain't your woman, she ain't your something, your responsibility, you know what they call her? A harlot.
Speak up.
A harlot. That's what they call it. Ain't nothing else. Ain't no excuse, no reason, nothing else. If you ain't married to him, zip it up. He don't get it until he earns the right to have it. And you don't get it by talking smooth words. It don't go that way. Because the next nigga's going to talk smooth words too. It might be a little smoother than mine. I thought my words were smooth, but this nigga was good. You know what I mean? He had me like, dang, I'm going to learn something from this brother. And what she do? She dropped and gave it up. What do they call her in Israel? A harlot. Remember my words, because y'all my children. We don't do that boyfriend-girlfriend thing.
Speak.
Right.
We don't create harlots. And young men, if you're going to be a young man and you defile a young woman, then what are you? Understand, it goes both ways. So these are things that we shouldn't do in the nation of Israel. So when they say that this is something that is not done in the nation, this is what they're speaking about. But how did she get in that position? By going somewhere, being somewhere where she shouldn't have been. She had no business being there. We ain't got no business doing a lot of the things that we do. Especially when we try to assimilate ourselves in the mind state of the heathens. We have to keep the Creator in the forefront of our minds. Some of us are able to go out and do what we got to do and still remain home in the same state of mind. Some of us are strong like that, but most of us are weak.
Yes.
We will fall victim quick. We think we got some strength, but we don't. Some of us can. We can go out and work a 9 to 5 in the belly of the beast, in the dungeon of hell, with the heathens of the heathens, and come back home and still be righteous because we don't allow that to come into here. There's a difference. There's a parable I heard many years ago. And then we're going to get right back to that. Don't lose your place. And that parable was about the Garden of Delight. And this reminds me of the Garden of Delight. The story goes like this. 3 men entered into the Garden of Delight. 3 men. The first man came out, he died immediately. The second man came out, he went crazy. The third man came out of the Garden of Delight, and he went in just the way he came out. Untouched, unscathed, he was perfect. Why? And what is the Garden of Delight? What is the Garden of Delight that could kill a man, make a man go crazy, or make a man be perfectly fine? Ask yourself that, family. Good analogy. It's something other than that, but good analogy. I'll share it with you. Normally I don't give out the answer, but I'll give it out to y'all because we like try to rush this knowledge quickly. The Garden of Delight is wisdom. Most people cry for wisdom. Very few can contain wisdom. And even more than that, very few know what to do with it when they get it. Sometimes you get a wise to a thing, and it will take your life. It will kill you because it's too much for you to comprehend. The wise man get a little bit of wisdom, and he can take on that wisdom, but it'll drive him crazy because he starts challenging that wisdom with the things that he has been taught in life to do what's right and what's wrong. So that wisdom breaks him down slowly, and then he eventually goes crazy. He don't know if he's coming or going. Later on, these things will start making sense to you. But a truly wise man will go into that wisdom. I spoke about that the other day. I had to post that on Facebook. He will go into that wisdom, take that knowledge, absorb that knowledge into himself, incorporate it into his lifestyle, and he will now become the wisdom. It's different. Like this lesson y'all receiving today. It's nothing but pure wisdom. You either going to die, you're going to either go crazy, or you're either going to absorb this knowledge, dissect this message as the day goes on and as your life goes on, dissect it, incorporate it, and become the wisdom from this lesson today. The word that you're hearing today is not even going to fully affect you until after you done walked the road and walked out the streets and left the house and forgot all about the lesson. And things are going to start developing in your life. You're going to say, you know what, that's what Prince was talking about. I can see that now. So now you're going to be equipped to know how to take on some of these challenges to make the differences in your life. Because you're going to have a little bit of that information. I always believe, and I'm a firm believer in this. Whenever you sit in service on the Shabbat day, you're never supposed to leave the building the way you came in. Because there's nothing but pure wisdom being spread. You take that wisdom, and whenever you get out of it, you become it. Become it. Begin to live it. Don't even make it make sense to you. It'll make sense as you do it. Become that wisdom. And I know you're getting a lot of wisdom here with this brother here. I know you are. But what are you going to do with it? It's one thing to sit underneath a great man and who's spreading powerful messages and learn to imitate his ways, but it's another thing to take that and go further than where he could ever go. Y'all are supposed to stand on our shoulders and take it to the next level. So all this struggling that he's doing right now, y'all supposed to outdo him 10 times over. And then your seed after you should outdo you 10 times over. This is just the order of the Creator. Let's move on, please.
And Hamor spoke with them, saying, My son Shechem belongs to your daughter. Please give her to him in marriage.
How you going to take her and then come back to me and say, can I have her? And if we only wise enough, we'll do what our brothers did. Read on. We'll think. Read on, please.
And to marry with us. Give us your daughter to us, and take our daughters for yourself.
So while he's saying all this, what do you think the brothers are doing? Remember, they there now. They really wanted to cut this man's head off. They doing just what she said. They plotting. They're thinking. Y'all brothers, y'all are strong. You have no idea what y'all can accomplish. But y'all got to be on the same page and the same pattern. And don't let nobody come in between any of y'all, female or male. And if y'all walk with that strong, there's power in that. Power. Y'all can sit back and assimilate things and make things happen that people couldn't get done, couldn't get accomplished. Look at your surroundings. Look at your life. Say what you don't want to be no more. Say what you don't want to accept no more. Say what you don't want to do no more. Come together as one mind and accomplish it. Whoever disagree with y'all, being one of the brothers, sacrifice your own mindset and go with the majority. And let the majority rule. And that's how you move out. No more me as an individual. It's us as a family, as a brother, as a unity. We're going to take this oath amongst ourselves, and we're going to move out as a family. Whatever we got to do, we're going to do it together. If you outvoted, then you go with the majority. Let's read on, please.
You will dwell amongst us, and the land will be open before you.
Read the chapter, verse before that, please.
And to marry with us. Give your daughters to us.
What did he say?
And to marry with us. Give your daughters to us.
Now that's Hamar. Oh, who that speaking, man?
Hamor.
You sure? Go to the verse before that.
And Hamor spoke with them, saying, My son Shechem belongs to your daughter. Please give her to him in marriage. And to marry with us. Give your daughters to us. Take our daughters for yourselves.
Stop right there. Now we'll read that and not really understand what he's saying. Anybody got an idea what that man is saying right now? That's dangerous. Become us. My brother hit right in the head. Become like us. But it's really become us. So we're talking about the house of Israel. If we would have taken that and said yes, we wouldn't be here today knowing who we are, because we would be
Shechem.
That's right. We wouldn't be who we are today. They saw that there was something special about us. Now, Hamor means something like honesty or purity or some old crazy stuff like that. But he's scheming. And we haven't even caught it. It appears as if he's coming with a humble spirit. It appears as if he's saying, well, listen, my son, he violated your daughter, and I'm only going to make this right. It appears that that's what he's saying. He's going to go back later, and we're going to see what's really in his heart. What's really in his heart. But who knows his heart other than the Creator? Who divined this master plan other than the Creator? Who made all this happen so that judgment will be rendered upon Shechem other than the Almighty? Read on, please. Watch what happens.
You will dwell amongst us.
Now you're going to dwell amongst us. You're going to marry our daughters. We're going to marry your sons. Now we're the bigger nation. So we're going to take yours, and you're going to be sucked up into us. We're not going to take on your name. You're going to take on our name. Right. That's what's going to happen. Watch. Read on.
And the land will be open before you.
The land will be now yours. You'll become our people. Read on, please.
Settle, move about, and acquire holdings in it.
Move about. What they're trying to do, I just told y'all what not to do. What's that? Separate, right? They're trying to get us to come and assimilate and move all around. Separate. You can go over there. Some of y'all can go over there. That's going to make us disappear as a people. But our forefathers understand what I just told y'all to do. Stay strong. Stay unified. Read on, please.
Then Shechem said to her father and brothers, do me this favor, and I will pay whatever you tell me.
Shechem said, do me this favor, assimilate with us, become one with us, and I'll do whatever you require me to do. Our people knew that we are a special breed. We cannot do this thing. There is no way in the world we could possibly allow our people to be destroyed and assimilated in the midst of who? Hivites, pagans, Hamorites, whatever, Hamorites. Read on, please. Watch what happens.
Actually, of a bride price ever so high, as well as gifts.
He was the prince of the land. He was the prince of the land. Of course he can pay ever so high, whatever it is. That's how they try to attract us, don't they? With all that money, with the things that glitter, that shines, it makes us want to go out and get it. If you notice, you're on Facebook and you present yourself as a righteous man, all you get is smut things coming in your box. Things to attract you, to make you say, I'll put Israel to the side for a moment. Let me go see what I can do. Am I right, Nancy? Big butt, half naked women. All types of things to entice you. Y'all sisters get that stuff too? By design, it happens. By design. All that is like what he's doing right now. Trying to entice our forefathers with the wealth. Well, whatever you want, it doesn't matter how much money you want. You let us know what the bride price is. I'll make sure that it get paid. Is that what he said? You yarning, man. You ain't supposed to be yarning, man. This ain't that kind of party where you sit up there and yarn, man. You supposed to be walking with me. You be like, yeah, Prince, you gonna be amped up right now. Getting the knowledge, like, yeah, that brother Doctor. You sitting over here yarning, man. Am I that bored? You want me to sit down? I can shut up now. You sure? All right, cool. Because if you ain't with me, I'm in trouble. All right, let's go. Let's see. What verse we on?
Finish out verse 12.
All right, let's go.
Only give me the maiden for a wife.
Whatever you do, I'll give you whatever you want. Just let me have your soul. What? Let me have your life. What you trying to say to me? I want you to live like me. Become me. In essence, that's what Shechem is saying. Do you know that if a king dies and he leaves a wife behind, that wife is never supposed to marry anyone other than a king? Same thing in the house of Israel. But a lot of people don't understand that. We don't hold to those honorable things anymore. By the reason being, do you remember the story with King Solomon?
Adonia.
What's her name? What's the sister's name?
Abishai.
Abishai. She was the queen, well, she was brought to King Dawid when he was older, ready to die. Yeah, that's right. And Abishai, his son, said to Solomon, Adonijah, Adonijah, his son said to King Solomon, he says, just let me ask one thing of you. Actually, he went to his mother and had his mother to come and ask him. He says, let me have her for a wife. Do you know what that means?
He's trying to usurp the kingdom.
Say it again.
He's trying to usurp the kingdom.
He's trying to usurp the kingdom. If the king dies and have a wife, the man who takes that wife, he has to be a what?
King.
But he wasn't a king. He was a prince, but that would have immediately exalted him in the eyes of the people as a king. And not just as a king, but as the king. But Solomon was already on the throne. That would have gave him authority to go start his own kingdom. Many people don't understand how important a woman is to a man.
Yeah.
A lot of times the men don't understand how important a woman is to you. They can make or break you or shake you. That's another subject for another day. Let's keep it moving.
Either
So,
you die,
yeah, that's what it
go
is.
crazy,
That's
come back
it.
to saying.
There you go. We're talking about them trying to take our woman for a reason. Because they're trying to take us as a people and be king and rulership over us. Understand this book, Genesis, talking about DINAH, that little story, it covers so many vital aspects of our lives, but we don't see it because we run through the story. All we know, I ask you right now, the story of DINAH, what it's about. She get raped, that's it. Period in the story. We don't see the intricate details in how this land was promised to us. So the Creator brought about this thing to bring forth prophecy that this land was promised to us and is going to be ours, and he used his sister to cause it to be ours. Read on, let's do that.
Jacob's sons answered Shechem and his father Hamor.
They're thinking They're not reacting. What did they say to him?
And speaking with God, because he had defiled his sister DINAH, and said to them, we cannot do this thing to give our sister to a man who is uncircumcised.
He ain't like us. See, the circumcision was a sign between us and the Creator, that we are his people.
Right.
Now, there was other nations who were circumcised, and there was other nations who were circumcised before Israel came together as a nation on the scene, on the earth. But this circumcision on the 8th day is a sign between the Creator and the children of Israel that we are his people. There's a reason, a spiritual reason, and a physical reason why on the 8th day. They say because the blood clots, it begins to clot and thicken on the 8th day. So when you cut the circumcision, the penis at the right time, you don't have that overflow issuance of blood. The Creator knows what he's doing. He's divine. He's not divine. His message is divine. The Creator can't be divine. Divine means from God or from the Creator, from somewhere coming down upon here. Man can be divine, but the Creator can't be divine. So let's go on.
For that is a disgrace among us.
For what?
For that is a disgrace among
Back
us.
up a little bit. What's a disgrace?
To give our sister to an uncircumcised man. For that is a disgrace among us.
So go out and get all your men circumcised, and then after you get everybody circumcised, you come back and talk to us, and we'll work something out. Go ahead and see what he says.
Only on this condition will we agree with you, that you will become like us, and every male among you is circumcised. Then we will give our daughters to you, and take your daughters to ourselves, and we will dwell among you, and become as one kindred.
Now stop for a second. Did you notice how Israel, our forefathers, just flipped the script? So that brings out the significance of what I was saying, that they was trying to make us become them. They said, oh, wait a minute, we can't do that. You have to become like us. Your God has to be our God. You have to go get circumcised and bring you under the covenant of the Almighty Creator. That's what you have to do. And then we can work on something. Our people can become one people at that time, after you do this particular thing. Read on. Watch what happens.
But if you will not listen to us and become circumcised, we will take our daughter and go.
Now, watch what they say. He said, if you don't listen to us and you don't agree with us, then we got to take and we got to leave. They don't want you to leave now. What do you think is going to happen to America if we leave America? So either they got one or two options. They either have to be like us, because we got to stop being like them. Either they're going to be like us or they're going to die. It's just that simple. But they say we're going to take our stuff and we're going to leave. Yeah, some of us are going to leave because we got to move back in the kingdom. But it's going to be a whole lot of us still here in America that when the Creator bring down his wrath, is going to get towed up, chewed up, and beat up. But it's still going to be some of us here. Read on. Let's see what happens.
Their words please Hamor
So
and
he was
Hamor's
happy.
son.
Hamor said, all right, we can do that. Go ahead.
And the youth lost no time in doing the thing.
He went right back home to his people. You see how that was done just now, sis? You see how that was done? He read it. I explained it. And he understood it. You follow me? It's not going to be verbatim like it was presented. Watch what he said. Read that portion again. Watch this. Something deep is in there.
Their words pleased Hamor and Hamor's son Shechem. And the youth lost no time in doing the thing.
The youth lost no time in doing the thing. Shechem heard it. He went right back to his people. And he said, hey, listen, this is what we got to put in place. How many times you hear a great thing in the house of worship? Great super thing. And still today, 5 years later, you still haven't moved on it. You talk about it. You talk about it every once in a while, but you haven't moved. It hasn't become you. You haven't become it. You let that wisdom escape you. You heard the wisdom, saw the actions that the wisdom could work, but you didn't utilize it. Shechem didn't do that. Shechem said, you know what? That's what I got to do to get this woman and get these people. All right, I'm going to do it. And right away, he got up and he began to do this thing. He goes back to all his people. He calls this big scam meeting. Hey, y'all, this is what we're going to do. We got to get circumcised in the flesh so that I can have this woman. So I can take this woman. His people say, well, what's in it for us? Well, them Israelites down there, you know, they got a lot of stuff. They got a lot of goods. They got gold. They got animals. These things are wealth back in those days. They got a lot of stuff down there. I know you read this 15 times. Didn't even pay this no mind. They got a lot of stuff down there in Israel that we can take for ourselves, that we can have. And then we'll take the people and bring the people in with us. You can take their daughters, you can take their husbands, their wives. Well, I mean, it's a whole lot they got to offer us. Plus that little plot of land they got down there is good for us too. They had their plan, the heathens got their plan, but the Almighty, who knows everything, they didn't know he was behind the scenes, behind all this taking place. They didn't know. Read on, let's see what happens. He goes back to his people now. He's saying what?
For he wanted Jacob's daughter. Now he was the most respected in his father's house. So Hamor and his son Shechem went to the public place of their town and spoke to
They
the
call it meeting.
townsmen,
They went to the public place, so they called a town meeting. Read on.
saying, "These people are our friends. Let them settle the land, move about in it. For the land is large enough for them.
It's large enough for them. Read on.
We will take their daughters to ourselves as wives and give our daughters to them.
We're going to assimilate these people. We're going to suck them up. Read on.
But only on one condition. Will the men agree with us to dwell amongst us and be as one kindred, that all the males become circumcised as they are circumcised. Their cattle and sustenance and all their beasts will be ours.
What's that? Now, here goes the truth to the matter. What's that going to happen again? What will be ours?
Their cattle and sustenance and all their beasts will be ours.
That's the reason that they really wanted to do this. Sure, they wanted DINAH as well. They wanted us to assimilate in the midst of their people, but they wanted all our possessions as well. Watch how to create a flip the script. Go ahead, I got to move a little swifter now, so y'all ain't going to get anything. I'm just give you a little bit. Keep on reading, please.
If we only agree on their terms, so that we will settle amongst them. All who went out of the gate of this town, heeded Hamor and Shechem and all the males, and all those who went out of the gate of the town were circumcised.
They all went out, they all got circumcised, so that they can do what? So they can get us to assimilate within them as a nation, and so that they can take our treasures, our jewels, and everything that was valuable to us. He was crafty. So they were thinking as well. Something that we don't do too often today. Our people were thinking, their people were thinking. So watch what happens when you put two spiritual minds together. One spiritual for the Creator, one spiritual for their God. See what happens.
On the third day, when they were in pain, Shimon and Levi,
Two people. Our people was thinking so heavy that it only took two of them to go out and execute their plan. Two brothers. Now these are her blood brothers with the same mother, same father. They executed a plan. They went through the town. Now remember, this man called a town meeting where all the people came out to this big center of the place. So that lets you know how much people was there, how many people was there. It was a lot of them. They came out, but yet two men was going to run through the town and wreak havoc. They had to do it at a time that was advantageous for them. And that time was after all the men got circumcised on the third day, when the circumcision's pain is at its worst. The man can't hardly move. So if he hear a cry for help, he can't hardly do that because he's in so much pain. So he loses his life easily. And watch what happens.
Shimon and Levi, two sons of Jacob, two of Jacob's sons, brothers of DINAH, took each his sword, came upon the city, unmolested, and slew all the males. They put Hamor and his son Shechem to the sword, took DINAH out of Shechem's house, and went away.
What did they do, family?
Killed everybody.
What did they do?
Killed everybody.
They killed all the men.
All the men.
They took the women. They took the women. They took the cattle. They took the gold. But you know what else they took? Say it again. They took DINAH, but they took something else. They took the gods. They took the images. They took the statues. They took all types of things from the midst of those people. They took those people's treasures. And you're going to find that they took the gods in the next verse. The next chapter. I don't think it's in this chapter. But you'll find out in the next chapter where our father, Jacob, had to go and plead before the Creator at Bethel. So before he leaves, he goes to the tree and he offers a sacrifice to a degree and buries those gods that they took. When you assimilate into this world and you become like this world, you do what? You take their gods. And you don't even realize it. Some of the practices and the traditions that you hold to, some of the things that you do, you're allowing those spiritual gods to incorporate you. And then you go and you present yourself before the Almighty with other deities upon you. You got to be very careful who you associate yourself with and how deep you let somebody into your spirit, into your area, into your space, because you will become like them and don't even understand that you have allowed this thing to happen. Homosexuality is a very, very, very strong force. And if you allow yourself to have homosexual friends and you think it's cool, then you better check yourself. Honestly, the spirit of evil people is contagious. When we went into that land, we killed them. We cut these heads off. We destroyed these people. What do you think happens with their spirit? We took their women. We took their jewels, their cattle. We took everything. All those things carry spirits. And people don't believe these things, and you might not have to believe them. You don't have to. But everything in creation has a spirit. Even the rocks have a spirit. Talk to them one day. Open your eyes up and listen. Maybe you'll feel the presence. But these things are real. Don't the rocks talk to the Creator? Mm-hmm. Didn't the rocks issue out water? Mm-hmm. Come on now, seriously. If you don't believe what I'm saying, I'm not going to force you to believe it. That's another subject for another day. I'm sure Nasi can talk about it with you. Let's finish out this chapter so we can get out of here. Well, so I can finish out this one. Before I get in trouble. I apologize, Nasi.
No, you're good.
Read on, please.
The other sons of Jacob came upon the slain and plundered the town because their sister had been defiled.
Took everything. They plundered the town. Why did they do that? Because they defiled DINAH. Because judgment, judgment had to be rendered. That's why they did it. Read on, please.
They seized their flocks and herbs and asses and all that was inside the town and outside.
Now, isn't it funny how the enemy sought to do that particular thing to us? They thought to do that to us. But the Creator flipped the script, and we ended up doing that particular thing to them that they sought to do to us. The Europeans, or let me just not even say Europeans, because a lot of our people are wrapped up and assimilated within it. The oppressors seek to destroy us. But according to the scriptures, we're going to have our way with them. And we shall be the rulers and the kings and the queens of the earth once again. And we shall possess them as servants once again. And when that happens, we're not going to be evil like they was to us, because it's just not in us to be evil. It's in them to be evil because of their nature. But it's in our nature to be merciful, kind, gentle, meek, humble. You know? It's in our nature. Read on. Let's go there. Please.
All their wealth and all their children and their wives, and all that was in the houses they took as captives and booty. And Jacob said to Shimon and Levi, "You have brought trouble unto me, making me odious among the inhabitants of the land."
Now, Abba spoke earlier about being outnumbered. Somewhere in his lesson, he spoke about being outnumbered with all the people in some situation. I don't remember the particulars, but I remember he touched on a lot of things that I wanted to cover today. Old man Jake, speaking from wisdom, is saying, oh, wait a minute. If these people rise up against us, we are outnumbered. They're going to destroy us. Y'all done brought havoc now. Jake, he's being tested right now because his mind hasn't developed to the spirituality that the Creator is doing this for a reason. Later in the next chapter, you'll see where he gets that understanding. But at this particular time, the first thing he did was panicked. When he heard that his sons went out and did this, oh man, the other surrounding nations are going to come down on us now. What we going to do? Because they're going to come down. So he's having a talk with his sons, and watch what happens.
The Canaanites and the Perizzites, my men are few in number, so that if they unite against me and attack me, I and my house will be destroyed. But they answered, should our sister be treated like a whore?
Should our sister be treated like a what?
A whore.
So what do they call a woman that have a sex with a man and she ain't married to him? They close that chapter out with that particular thing. Should our sister be treated as a whore? So sisters in the audience, as you're listening to these lessons, if you're having sex with a man that's not your husband, your head, then sisters, what you are doing, you're committing harlotry. It's a violation. And no sister in Israel should do such a thing. I knew one sister in Israel, she tells me, this is years ago, she asked for me to interpret a dream for her. So I gave her my best shot. She said I was right. She was sexing a man that wasn't her man, and that man actually belonged to somebody else. We don't have a problem with that word. But the fact that she was sexing this man and this man wasn't claiming her is a violation. So she admitted to these things. She promised that she would change, but I haven't heard from the sister because I deleted her from my page. I don't need no trouble. I gave her what she asked for. She confessed that it was true, and I had to let her go. I ain't heard from her in a long time. I don't even see her name no more. But if I do see her name, I'll remember. So family, what did we get out the lesson today? You ain't got to tell me. I don't even want you to tell me. I want you to rehearse it in your mind, because that's the strongest place where you can put it. Not even on a piece of paper, but in your mind. So when you get a chance, this lesson might be on Facebook sometime of the day or YouTube or something. When you get a chance, you go there, watch it over and over and over again, so that you can get the fullness of a lesson. And I know that you sat here and you listened, but oftentimes you will not hear what you hear on the playback. You didn't hear it. Yes, my brother.
What I get from it is kind of ironic, because I was listening to two brothers debate the same thing you were talking about. And that's why, to me, it's so profound, because I was listening to some Hebrew Israelite brother in New York debating some Kemetic brothers. And they were debating about, they were saying that why would, and the debate was like, in a way they were saying that Hebrew Israelites are seeing homosexuality in Kemet. So they were saying, what kind of man would go and want you to bring foreskin, which is a part of a man's genital, as a payment, as, you see, so they were spinning what we talking about. You were saying it was a form of usurping them by making them weak so we can destroy them. The Kemet guys were saying no, it's something else. So that's what I'm getting from it. I'm looking at it like, wow, you brought it up. But look how things can be taken either way, or how you could be used as ammunition today when we're debating or speaking in terms of scriptures, who is wrong or who is right. We could be seeing the same thing and spinning it differently. That's how I'm looking at it. Because it was a huge debate. And they were using that same part, that same scripture you bring in today, to say there's a form of homosexuality. Why that part?
Right.
Or why human parts?
So they were saying we actually had homosexual tendencies,
right,
by asking them to get circumcised.
And to bring the foreskin.
Wow.
Meaning we want to see other people's parts, penis.
Wow.
You see?
Yeah.
So that's what, and it was a huge debate, because I was watching it. So that's what I'm looking at, and when you brought the same scripture, just made me say, wow, we could be looking at the same thing in so many different ways.
Yeah.
But I understood it from where you saying it was for us to overpower them, and by the sister's name saying this has to be done.
That's right.
But they only unfold in that manner.
Absolutely.
But they themselves is saying it now. You know what I mean?
Well, they not us.
Right.
Their minds are not like ours.
Right.
You know? Maybe they need to come into and sit down and get some lessons before they try to go against a Hebrew Israelite with a little bit of knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be a good thing. Maybe you want to give them an invite. Well, now see, I'm sure he talks to those kind of people all the time.
Yeah.
No,
You
really.
got to
I sure Nazi.
You gotta come
Nazi
in.
will know who it is.
Okay.
Actually,
Is there anything else? Anyone else? How about a young brother? You want to? Any young brother want to mention anything that they've gotten? You mean I didn't touch the mind of any of you young brothers? I'm in trouble.
We just process it.
I got from it like families, everything. Like suppose, like for example, say if my brother's in like really care about her, that we always been each other at the end of the day. We never had none of that that came
That's right.
to that. So supposed to at least have the sort of respect that you have to your sisters or whatever that you want to treat her.
That's right.
Very good. What I got from it is you always have to have a plan before you go into something. And even if you got a plan, don't let everyone know that you have a plan. Let them think that you don't know anything, or that you're really being defeated, but you're really in the long run gonna win the battle.
That's deep.
Hallelujah.
Thank you all for having me and allowing me to speak.
Hallelujah. I want to say something, and that was beautiful. Hallelujah. I'm just gonna be brief for a second. My mind was going when Prince Pez was talking, and it's multiple issues, and I'm trying to put it together to just give this little message. And he said something. He said that, you know, sometimes in your life you try to force things into your life and it brings you down. And he said from his heart that he was at a place of humbling. Mm-hmm. And I'm too. And it's funny that we're meeting back now because I lost a lot. I've been humbled. And it's because I feel and I know that you start letting stuff rock that wasn't supposed to rock. Mm. And that's what happens when you let your family guard down and you know that you have a certain level or a standard that needs to be revered. Never, ever give inch on the grounds, no matter what. If you have to break your own family, if you have to break or separate whatever it is, you make sure the Most High come first. So I stand here humble. And you know, and I've been being broken. I've been being broken from the last, all the time, but I understand it. And one day I just asked God why tears in my eyes just looking up, and he said, for his name's sake. Mm. And that was what came to me, is for his name's sake, for his name's sake. That means all ego, everything is out the window. It has to be completely for Yah. And as much as the men kept it tight, where they didn't want nothing of DINAH inside the nations, every last one of us as parents, I'm every last one of you. Every last one of you, and I put that on my life, every last one of you agreed to what this man just said. Y'all agreed to what this man just said, and my spirit is telling me to say this. That book is no joke. You play with it, it's going to destroy your life. Mm. We all shook our heads about giving our children away to the nations and all of this stuff, or just simulating. You see, the book has grown men that's 40 years old marrying women that's 18, and you might look at it as too much of an age difference, but that's our culture. You don't put a boy with a girl. You don't put an 18-year-old with an 18-year-old. If you agree to this book is the truth, and there's exceptions, I give you exceptions, but if you don't agree that this book is the truth, we sat here and did church. So if it's church that we're doing, we ain't getting nowhere. Mm. But if you believe this book is speaking things into existence and patterns, and you see your family going out into the world, or you see them wanting to hang out, or we send them to these different places away from us when we building this thing, we got to really think about it and say, these things ain't right. Mm-hmm. In our heart, and I say that in our minds, that we got to make these things right. And I'm talking to myself. Everything he said touched my heart. And it was time constraints because I know we hungry or whatever, or people, you know, we stopped at 5, so that's the only reason I stopped them, but the words were pleasant. And also, I watch people. I watch people and I observe people. You can't fake a standard. And not because you got a standard with you. And I say all praises and all honor to the Most High. You set a standard. Hallelujah. And it's men like you that allow men like me and other brothers to focus on what's to focus, and that's keeping the standard of Yah high and no compromise with nothing. No compromise with nothing. I say that to you, and I know you agree because I'm in the zone like you are, Prince. We've been broken down, and that's why we're back together. Most High put us in place, broke us down, our spirits, and now we gotta do this. We gotta do this for the Creator, for His name's sake. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All honor, all glory to the supreme intellect of the universe. Let us rise and give credence to the Creator. Hallelujah. Which way is easy? That's right.